That might have been the craziest weekend in the NLL I've ever seen. Not because of blowouts, not because of upsets, but because every single game felt like it was hanging on by a thread. Late goals, big saves, momentum swings that flipped the games in seconds. There were multiple points this weekend where one play decided everything. And that's where we're at right now in this season. There's no separation, no easy games. And if you don't execute in those moments, you're losing. So what actually separates the teams that are winning those games from the teams that aren't? That's what we're getting into today. We're also asking a question that I think is starting to get real. Is Keegan Ball in that MVP conversation? And we've got Graeme Perrow joining the show again for the second time to break it all down with us. So let's get right into it. Welcome back. My name is Jake McDonald. I am Anything Lacrosse, and this is The Game Never Sits Still. Starting off strong, leave me a comment on what you want to see in these episodes, as well as go like all the socials, the Anything Lacrosse show. I'm going to leave it up on the screen here. Join the Discord as well, and leave me a comment or anything like that you guys want to do. With that being said, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to go run through the couple topics to start. As always, that we'll be going through. We got Graeme Perrow on the show today for the second time. Awesome having on here, and you're going to probably see a lot more of his face coming up going forward here as well. Then we're gonna go through we'll do all through the weekly runs. I'll give you my awards and my power rankings. We'll run through the stats as always, and we'll see what's going on in this league because we are getting down to the nitty gritty here. We're seeing some teams start to separate themselves, and you're seeing other teams really just start to fall from grace a little bit. So we're gonna be talking about all that as always. And I've got two great topics for you to start off the show as always as well. So we'll get to the Graeme Perrow interview in a minute, but let's start off with topic number one. Like, what does it take to be really good and really ready to play and to compete for a championship, right? Because at the end of the day, all these teams are trying to win this championship, but only one's going to do it. So in the next 5 years, there's only going to be 5 teams to win this championship. There's 14 teams trying. Are we going to see multiple time champions as well? Are we going to see Buffalo go for that 4th peat this year, right? And so it's a lot harder than I think a lot of fan bases realize. So what does it actually take? And when I'm looking at it, I can tell you need 3 stars to be actually considered like a contender. Not only do you need 3 stars, but you need one of the best players in the league on top of that. So you really need, like, in that trio, you also need one of the top players in the league to really be up there. And you can see it in Colorado. That's a contender this year. You can see it in Vancouver. That's a contender this year, right? And then you see it, like, a good example is Ottawa. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Ottawa is dead in the water. They can't win, because this is the great thing about this game is that anybody can beat anybody. But they have the best player in the world, or arguably one of the best players in the world, right? Top 3, top 2, top 1, whatever, wherever you slot Jeff T. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have the support that other players do around him. Like Keegan Ball, like I mentioned in the intro. Keegan Ball, look at what he's doing, and then look at the other supporting cast around him. Same as Saskatchewan's almost an anomaly a little bit. And Saskatchewan, it's going to be interesting to see if they can get this done, because I never want to say they're not superstars, like especially Robert Church having an amazing season, Garrett Keenan having an amazing season, right? They have their guys that are really, 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 really good. The stars, they do have their trio, right? But it's not like they don't have a top point getter this season, right? Let me just go double check that just so I'm not wrong in this, but I'm almost positive that they don't have a top point leader like right now. Okay, so we have Ryan. See, so they have 2 top 10 guys. So Saskatchewan does have like 2 top 10 guys, but they don't have a top 3 guy, right? Top 5 guy, right? Where Ottawa is 2, but then it really falls off for Ottawa, right? After that, after the 2, they don't have anybody. And whereas Saskatchewan has 3 guys in the top 20. So right, they have their trio in Ryan Keenan, Robert Church, and Zach Mans, right? Like right now, those 3, they have 3 30-goal scorers. I think they don't think anybody else has that. So that's what I mean. All these teams that are like quote unquote contenders all have 3 guys that they can put up, right? Vancouver, same thing as Vancouver. They got Keegan Ball, obviously. They got Jesse King. They got Curtis Dixon, and then usually you still need a couple other guys who can also pot the ball as well. I was kind of looking. So you need a stud goalie to win this NLL championship. You need a stud goalie. And this is, you can go look at the blueprint from what we've seen in the last playoffs, right? Where it's Vince, right? Vince. But even before then, you have Buffalo that's won the championship. You have Colorado that's won the champion in the last 10 years, right? Because we had COVID break, right? So that's 2 seasons off. But you have Buffalo since COVID's come back, right? I think 23, 24. No, there was one more. Who won 22? I'm going to read you off the last 10 years, okay? Or the last 10 champions. It's going to be a little bit longer, 10 years, because we had 2 seasons off. So you had Buffalo in 2025, Buffalo in 2024, Buffalo in 2023, Colorado in 2022, Calgary in 2019, Saskatchewan in 2018, Georgia in 2017, Saskatchewan in 2016, Edmonton in 2015, which is Saskatchewan, and then Rochester in 2014. Where's Toronto, right? There's no Toronto on there. There's no Vancouver on there. There's no lots of teams on there. Technically, Rochester is now Halifax, I think, but either or, still, that's Rochester's championship, right? It's not Halifax's, in my opinion. That's my opinion. I know there's people that disagree with that. I think Halifax needs to have their own little their own thing. But this is what I'm talking about. I think you need to look at these teams. Well, what did all these teams have in common, right? And look at that. They all have absolutely Hall of Fame goaltenders. That's one thing that I noticed. They've all had top end goaltenders now. Now they've all had great like offenses, right? Now it's kind of hard when you have, I can't remember exactly what year they expanded the league, but I think it was like 2014 or something. So it's like right there around there. I think everything got, or not, or 2015, sorry. Everything kind of got like washed down or whatever, a little bit watered down. Like the teams, if you go look at the Edmonton and Saskatchewan teams that played there, I've looked at them before. They were absolutely stacked. This is a Chat GPT Deluxe, so please don't yell at me too hard, or yell at me, but don't yell at me too hard if it's not completely right. But just, I always like to give that disclaimer. Anytime I'm grabbing ChatGPT information, I always like to kind of give that disclaimer myself. So here we go. So 25, 24, and 23. Here's the rosters for each of these guys. You had Smith, Byrne, Nanticoke, Buchanan, McKay, Weiss, Priolo, Vince, Cloutier, and Frazier. And then in full 2023 roster examples confirmed, you had Buchanan, Byrne, Cloutier, McCauley, Nanticoke, Roberts. I don't know what that means. So basically they had the same team the full 3-year run with a little bit of depth changes and stuff like that, right? So Colorado 2022 had Zed Williams, Eli McLaughlin, Connor Kelly, Ryan Lee, Tim Edwards, Warren Jeffrey, Dylan Ward. You know, all guys that are just absolutely killer. Ward really did help them win that championship. Let's just put it that way. And then Zed Williams had an amazing season in that season as well. In Calgary, you had Dane Dobby, Curtis Dixon, Rise Duck. I don't know if I said that wrong. I probably said that wrong. Anyway, Tyler Pace, Zach Currier, and Christian Del Bianco, absolutely stacked, right there. Then you had Saskatchewan. You had, in 2018, you had Mark Matthews, Ryan Keenan, Matt McIntosh, Robert Church, Jeremy Thompson, Kyle Rubish, and Evan Kirk in nets. And then you had Georgia Swarm. You had Miles Thompson, Andy Stotts. Lyle Thompson was the MVP in this one. Shane Jackson, Jordan McIntosh, and Mike Coulin. You had in Saskatchewan in 2016, same dynasty core as 2018 with Matthews, Church, McIntosh, Rubish, and Kirk. Edmonton, same Matthews, Curtis Knight, Zach Greer, Chris Corbell, Kai Rubish, Aaron Bold. And 2014 was like Cody Jamieson, Dan Dawson, Joe Walters, Stephen Coe, Paul Dawson, Matt Vince. So there you guys have it. That's just kind of a quick, like, I think when I look at it, like, you need at least three really top end players to do it. I think you need a couple key defensive pieces too, 1 or 2 really big defensive pieces back there. And then I think you also need a stellar goalie. And if you don't have that, then you need to figure out how to get that if you don't want to win the championship, in my opinion. Just my opinion. You can look at it. The blueprint's there. So when I see certain teams call out like, oh, we're going to win the championship in the next this many years, I'm like, do you have that blueprint? I don't know. You guys tell me, because I don't think some of these teams don't look like they have that blueprint, and other teams look like they're ready to go. And this is the thing: if we walk into another dynasty, like let's say hypothetically somebody goes and wins 2, 3 in a row now, whether that be Vancouver, whether that be Saskatchewan, whether that be Buffalo keep winning, whatever. That just eliminates. That means over a 6, 7, 8 year period, there might only be 2, 3 different champions. There's 14 teams that are all trying to do the same thing, right? That's what I love about the sport. But the sport is anybody can beat anybody, and I think I will say, I feel like the league is very even right now. Like last year was like kind of Saskatchewan, Buffalo were really out in the lead, and now they're that tier two with Halifax and Vancouver and Rochester even, right, in that tier 2, and then it kind of went over from there. This year it's like kind of just a crapshoot on who's going to win because you have so many different X factors on different teams. So anyway, that's just a quick rundown on what it takes to win. That's kind of my thing. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. I just find with that is like, when I look at it, it's just that's what when I'm looking at blueprints and who has it. Let's go into this for a second. Who has it this year, right? So I think Vancouver, that basically describes Vancouver. Colorado, Saskatchewan, right? I know you're not gonna like this one. Toronto has everything I just said. Now can they go? So Toronto's got to be thrown in that category. Does Ottawa have it? No, they don't. Do I think they can win a championship? No, not with the team they have. They got to add a little bit more. Now, with that being said, Jeff Teat's on a whole other level. He's a type of player that could like legit put the team on his back and carry him in, especially with Hellier there, and especially if you get like, a couple other guys to step up, then maybe. But it's gonna be tight. Georgia is another one that I would say, like, they got Lyle. If he gets hot, they got Nolan Byrne. Do they have a third? Is Georgia involved in this? Let's go. So that's kind of a red flag to me, honestly. I can't put Georgia in here because they don't have anybody in the top 20. They did not have one guy in the top 20. So I can't really put Georgia in this category this year. So you got like Vancouver, Saskatchewan, Toronto, I have to put in there, to be honest with you. I have to. Colorado. I think those are the only 4 legit teams that you really should be looking at when you're looking at this. Like, let's see. Hold on. Let's see something right now. Saskatchewan. Can't put Georgia. Buffalo. So you got 5. Buffalo. I think those are the only real teams that have a chance in this one. And don't get me wrong. I don't want to count out. So here's what we're going to do. I think 5 teams you got to look at like legit contenders this year. You look at Saskatchewan, Vancouver, Colorado, Toronto, and Buffalo all as actual contenders at this point. I think Georgia's got to be considered a dark horse. I think Ottawa's going to be like a real underdog category, I would say. And then whoever sneaks in that 8th spot. And that's what I'm looking at like that. But we're going to get into that and go into that in a little bit here. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. I think those are the teams that you really gotta that are serious contenders this year. And Toronto has snuck their way into that group of thing. I just think with what I just said, if you look at the blueprint on everything I just said, I don't know if I can put Georgia in there right now. But with that being said, the way Brett Dobson is playing, if he can carry his team to the end, I can see it. Is their offense going to be enough to win a championship? I don't know. I don't know if it is. So, all right, topic 2. Okay, so let's transition into topic 2 here. We're going to talk about Keegan Ball. Keegan Ball. Let's go back into the NLL here. Keegan Ball has 107 points in 15 games in this league this year already. 36 goals, 71 assists, 7.1 points per game, a 24.3 shooting percentage. It's the best in the league. Ryan Keenan's actually a little bit higher than him, and so is Mitch Jones. 25. They're both just over 25. A couple guys down here at 24 as well. Oh, there's one. Holds that. Who's got 20, 27, 29? Who's got 29 shooting percentage? Jesse King has a 29 shooting percentage. There you go, boys. There's his teammate. Wow. Anyway, he's also got 85 loose balls. It's just he's for such a great offensive player to try to go get those loose balls too. He's got 7 power play goals, 3 shorthanded goals, and he's got 148 shots on goal as well. Huge. He's leading the league right now. But there's a couple other guys. So like Keegan Ball, should we be considering him for the MVP yet? Now, it's hard because they've got such a great supporting cast, but he has been the best player on that team. And if you can argue, like, Vancouver wouldn't be sitting in the same spot if it was him. They'd be probably closer to a bubble team. So I think he has to be considered. But the problem is with it is, like, when you look at Ottawa, like, where would Ottawa be without Jeff Teat? Even Dane Smith. Nobody's mentioning Dane Smith. Actually, BSC is. I will shout out them. BSC is saying this. Buffalo Sports Collective has said, like, Dane Smith should be getting some love for MVP. And I have to agree. And I know they're obviously super biased, so it's hard for them to say that and people take them seriously, I think, a little bit. But I have to agree with them. After that game winner, and it hasn't been once this season. It's been like 3 times he's clutched it out for them. At least 3 times this season that I can remember. Off the top of my dome. So, like, you can't tell me that Dane Smith should be considered MVP potential, right? Let's see who else we got here. So those 3 I would think. And then Graham brings us up. He's going to talk about this, but Andrew Q has a 7.1 points per game. You know, he'd be in the conversation. He's got 43 goals now, most in the league by 4 next to Jeff Teat. You know, it's just like he's got to be considered in here too a little bit. I think he has to be. Like, as much as he missed a couple games, it's like there's going to be an argument to be made if he can continue this. If he can end the season with the best point per game in the league, you got to put him in that category as well, right? Then you got Brett Dobson. That's also, everybody's been like, okay, he's the MVP. So, you know, I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting one. But like, you have Colorado with 3 guys in the top 20. You know, and that's terrifying. You got Saskatchewan with 3 guys in the top 20. Like, and you know what? Surprisingly, guys, Calgary has 2 guys in the top 20. Like, that's impressive considering where they're sitting. Ottawa has their top end, but they fall off the face of the earth after that. So anyway, we're gonna see what happens. It's interesting, but I think right now, if you're asking me, nobody is, but if you're asking me, I would say Keegan Ball, Jeff Teat, Dane Smith, Brett Dobson and Andrew Hugh all have to be in the consideration for the MVP this year. It's not a runaway show like everyone says it was. It's not. I love you, Brett. I love you. You're a great goaltender. You're having a historical season, and Brett and they would not be there if you weren't. But like you can't argue these other guys as well. And the only thing that I think puts Brett Dobson a little bit ahead of everybody is the team that he has in front of him and what he's been able to do with the team, especially the slump they had to start the season for their offense. Like it does sell his case so hard. Jeff Teat too, like the way he's putting them on his back. But Robert Hellier has been there too to help him. Like Robert Hellier's 5. So Ottawa does have 2 top 5 guys. They're the only the ones in the league that do have that. It's just unfortunate they fall off after that, right? So they really do need their third one. Because who is, let me see. Yeah, like Riley O'Connor has 67 points, then Kiernan has 45. Sundown has 35. Like Sundown you want a little bit more out of, I'm going to say. But how old's Sundown here? Sundown's 29. Yeah, you need a little bit more out of Sundown. I'm not going to lie out there. Sam Firth, another one, but I think Sam Firth, 26. Riley O'Connor. What's Riley O'Connor's 32. How old's Jeff Teat? Jeff Teat is 28. Hellier's older. 33. Okay. They're not that bad. They got Ottawa needs another guy. I would like to see Ottawa go pick up an offensive piece. But it is what it is. So you guys have it. There you go. Who am I missing anybody? Am I putting too many in? Brett Dobson's here. You guys let me know in the comments. No, right now, if I had to pick an MVP, it's Brett Dobson, but it's still, you got to have these conversations with these guys, and these guys are in reach. They're in reach of the MVP. So let's get right into the interview now. I've talked long enough about a couple topics. We have Graeme Perrow back on the show today. I had to get him back on again at this point of the season because I had him on kind of before the season started. And he's so analytical. You're going to be seeing more of his face. I'll talk about that after the interview a little bit. But he's such a great guy. It wasn't a super long interview, unfortunately. I was crazy this weekend, and it's completely my fault. I could have sat there for an hour and a half and talked with Graeme. But he brings up a lot of fantastic points like he always does. He has great perspective on this sport, and he does some great writing. So go check out NLLChatter. Give him some love. He does NLLstats.com, creator of it, and maintains it all on his own time and with his own, resources. Like he said in the first interview, that, it costs him money to actually run it, but he loves the community that much. And that's his way to kind of, give back to community or whatever. So I love Graeme Perrow. I always should have showed him out. Everybody loves Graeme. Everybody loves him. I've never heard anybody say a bad word about him, but you can't because he's such a great guy. So with all that being said, let's get right into it, and we'll enjoy. Today we have another returning guest with Graeme Perrow from NLLstats.com, the Lord and Savior that saves me tons of time every week. So shout out, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, how have you been since the last time I talked to you?
Very good. It's been a pretty exciting season. So getting right down to the wire, and of course, as we expect with the standings the way they are, we don't know what the heck's going to go on in terms of playoff teams until probably the very last weekend. So that's pretty exciting.
What's been the biggest surprise for you this season so far?
Oh, let's see. Probably have to say the Bandits for at least the first half to 2/3 of the season. I mean, we knew at some point their championship streak was going to end, and they were going to turn into a decent but not incredible team. And it almost seemed like they turned into a not very good team very quickly. And then they kind of pulled things together, and the last few games we've seen kind of more of what we expected from the Bandits from the previous few years. But certainly the first half of the season for Buffalo was a big surprise. I think the other surprise for me would probably be Rochester, where they started off really strong, and we all kind of expected that, and they were going to score 1 million goals and probably at least make the playoffs, if not host a playoff game in the first round. And then the wheels just fell off, and they're scoring some goals, but they can't stop anything, and their goaltending has really struggled this year. Yeah, Buffalo to begin with, and then Rochester afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I kind of seen this coming with Rochester. I know I'm kind of like a Rochester hater, I'm always told. But I just see they seem like they should be good, but it's that back end of me. It's, I always call them like a glass cannon. They're so strong offensively, but can they stop it is what the issue is. And Hartley's been up and down. Like, who do you think should be the starting goaltender there out of those two?
I think at this point they've got to go with Hutchcraft. Hartley, I was actually just writing this for my article for this week, and I listed the Rochester comeback as one of the awesomes, even though they didn't actually win the game. But in there, I mentioned Rylan Hartley and how he kind of isn't the same goalie that he was, I think, since the sort of controversial hit on Steph Charbonneau. Before that, I think he was 4-1, a save percentage above 80% in most of those games. And then that hit happened. He was off for a week. with the suspension. And then since then, he's had a good game. Like he had a good game against Saskatchewan where they won in overtime. But he's been pulled in every other game, and he's had save percentages below 60% in like 3 out of 4 games or something. Yeah, he's just not looking the same as before that. So I don't know if there's still something physical going on there, or if it's all mental, or some combination of those, or something unrelated. I don't know what else it would be, but I think you got to give the net to Hutchcraft at this point. Leave Hartley as the backup.
Yeah, I have to agree, especially, I mean, after you've seen Hutch come in and play so well. And I always wondered, because I remember he didn't sit. He took a week and played the following game, and he ended up getting pulled in that game, so it's almost like he should have sat because it really didn't matter. But do you think it's more of like, I know he's had concussion injury issues and stuff before, but do you think it's more like an injury issue, or do you think it's more of like this is kind of like karma for that almost a little bit?
I don't know if I go that far, but um, it, concussions can be really hard to diagnose and hard to recover from. And I know there's been cases where somebody gets hit, they seem to be fine. And for example, Carson Leung, when he was hit by Alex Bouquet back in 2014 or 15 or whenever that was, he finished the season. He didn't, I don't think he played every game after that. Like he missed a couple and then he played a few more. But it was only after the season that he sort of realized, okay, this isn't better. This isn't going away. And I think after talking to his doctors, he had to retire. But so concussions can be weird that way in that you seem to be okay, but you're not, and you may not even know it for a while. So it's possible that there's still some lingering effects from that have just started to show up recently. I kind of hope not. I mean, I certainly wouldn't wish that kind of thing on anybody. Hartley is a really exciting goalie when he's on his game, so I would love to see him back to form. Yeah, like I said, at this point in the season, you got to go with Hutchcraft, and I don't know if you want to put Hartley on the shelf entirely. That's probably a medical decision. Yeah, I'm hoping that's not what it is, but that's certainly a possibility.
Well, even like when he is on, he's a great goalie. He has a newer style where he kind of moves around more, I find, and stuff like that. Definitely a little bit aggressive style as well out there. Now, do you think he's going to have another shot in Rochester after this season, where they're sitting, where they were projected to be? Like really, they were projected to be by a lot of people who's in that top four. Having a home playoff game this year, and with how it's all gone, do you think Rylan Hartley should be looking for another team to play for? Or do you think that he's got another shot to try to win in Rochester still?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Rochester's going to try that again. Like they gave him the net, and then he had to come out for a while, not just this season, but in previous seasons as well. And it's almost like they keep having to flip back and forth between Hartley and Hutchcraft. And it's happened a few times where Hutchcraft has played 3-4 games in a row and played really well. And we all think, okay, he's the new starter now. And then they go back to Hartley, and then Hartley plays really well. And they say, okay, well, it's back to Hartley being the starter again. And so it's flip-flop a few times. So I'm wondering if, especially with the coaching change in Rochester, they might just say, okay, we're just going to sort of clean house and pick our starting goalie, and that is the starting goalie. We're not going to be flip-flopping back and forth. And if Hartley doesn't have a really strong finish to the season, on the assumption that he actually gets playing time, yeah, Rochester may decide to move on.
Has there ever been an NLL team that has been successful with a tandem goalie? Because I'm not a really big fan of tandem goalies. I prefer to have like one starting goalie, and that's your guy, and then if something happens, you have a backup. But to try to, in Rochester, it's really been you haven't known like who the guy who.
There have been a couple. The first two that come to mind are, and I couldn't tell you the years. I'd have to look them up. But the Minnesota Swarm had Tyler Carlson and Evan Kirk as their goaltenders. This might have been in like 2008, 9, somewhere in that time period. I think it was that long ago. And if I'm not mistaken, they were both rookies, and they both just played really, really well all season long. But they explicitly made it as a tandem. So Carlson would start a game and play really, really well, and they'd say, nope, we're going to start Kirk the next game. That was the plan. And they start Kirk the next game. He'd play really well, and they go back to Carlson. I don't think it was like strictly alternating, but they did play both goalies as starters the whole season. Trying to remember how well they did. I think they made the playoffs, or if not, they had a decent season anyway. The other one that comes to mind is the Rock in 2014, 2015, when Nick Rose had been their starter already for 2 or 3 years. And then they brought in Brandon Miller, and they kind of swapped back and forth between those two. And I think that might have been the year they went to the championship. So it would have been 2015. And Miller, I think, played more of the playoffs than Rose did. And they ended up losing to Saskatchewan, or it might have been Edmonton at that point, in the finals. And then the next year, they kind of went back to just Nick Rose with Brandon Miller backing him up. But that one year, they did swap back and forth. So it has been done, but not very often.
So, talking about Toronto Rock here, I obviously want to ask you a couple things here. But are you a Nick Rose guy, or do you think Troy should be a guy, especially after he came in and he's played pretty solid this season, but the record shows Nick Rose they play better in front of Nick Rose. Like, what is your opinion? Who do you think should be the starter right now?
Yeah, with all due respect to Troy Holochuk, who has played very, very well when he's been in the net. I think this is Nick Rose's team. This is Nick Rose's net to lose. And like I said, last year when Rose was traded, Holochuk came in and played really well. When Rose was injured this year, Holochuk came in, played really well. He's not an elite level goalie, but he was better than just kind of an average guy that can go in the net. He's better than serviceable, I think is what I said in one of my articles. But especially since we've seen Rose play really well in the 3 games since he came back from injury, I think you got to go back to Rose with the knowledge that, and this is a big thing, if Rose has a bad game or needs some time to I don't know, needs some time to recharge or something during the game, which occasionally happens. They can pull him out, put Holochuk in. Everybody has full confidence in Holochuk, and nobody's like, okay, well, now we have Holochuk in there. Everybody's nervous. Nobody's nervous about having Holochuk in there, given his performance. So it's kind of a nice problem to have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to have a great backup to kind of hold the fort down when your starter's out. Now, do you think Troy is the guy that is the future guy for Toronto?
At this point, yeah, I think so. I don't follow like junior lacrosse and that sort of thing all that much, so I don't know who. Like if they have Stephen Orlerman as well, but I imagine he's there as a backup for Rose / Holochuk. I don't think he's the long term solution. I would guess at this point that it is Holochuk who's sort of the heir apparent once Rose decides to hang him up. And Rose is 36, 37, so he probably has at least a year or two left. If he turns into Matt Vince and he has 5 years left, then great. But I don't know if you can make that assumption. But you'll probably get at least another year or two out of Rose.
Yeah, absolutely. Rose has, been so good this year too. Now, do you think people should start looking at Toronto as actual contenders at this point? Because I've got them as I think they keep climbing up the list a little bit, but I had them as a dark horse. Like I think they are the best team in the league when everything is firing right for them. Now, this season we've kind of seen them go ups and downs. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think they're a playoff team for sure. It wouldn't surprise me to see them grab a home playoff game. But yeah, if you look at the top 5 teams in the league, Toronto is number 5 on that list, but they've beaten 3 of the top 5 in the last 4 games. The only one they haven't beaten is Georgia, and they lost to Georgia in like early January or something, but they only lost by 1. And I think the big rookies on the Rock are really coming into play. They're really playing well. They're working really well with the other guys on the offense. Sam English is playing offense, defense, transition, wherever you want him to be. And it's kind of interesting to see Owen Hiltz and Mark Matthews seem to have some sort of chemistry that they really do well together. And CJ Kurse can just play everywhere and score from everywhere. So the fact that those guys have come into the offense and learned all of learned how the offense works. And the offense has changed a little bit around those guys. And I think that the team is really gelling at the right times. Yeah, look out for the Rock.
What are you most worried about going into playoffs with this team?
What I have seen is, like I said, the rookies are doing great. They're having phenomenal seasons, all of them. What I noticed earlier was the veterans weren't. Mark Matthews has shown a bit of a resurgence, but for a while he was getting all kinds of assists, but he wasn't scoring much. Chris Boucher would have a game where he'd have 3 or 4 goals, and then the next game he'd have like 1 assist and nothing else. So he was kind of streaky. Josh Dowick had a fantastic year last year, but I think last time I looked, he was on pace to be like 30% lower points and goals and everything than last year. So I certainly don't want to call them a weak spot, but if there's anything that I'm concerned about, it's not the rookies, it's sort of the veterans.
Yeah, the rookies have been overall better than the veterans all along, but I don't want to take that away from the veterans at all. Like they've been fantastic the last a month, I want to say 5 weeks maybe, ever since they really got going. Mark Matthews is just I came to a Toronto Rock game a couple weeks ago, and I took my brother there, and he's not a lacrosse fan. Now the one guy that he was like, I love this guy, is Mark Matthews. He was just blown away by how he played, and that just shows how good he is. Now the rookies are doing so well. Do you have who's your rookie of the year? Is it CJ Kurse? It's pretty easily nice easy pick there.
It is an easy pick, and I think he would probably be my choice for rookie of the year at this point, just because obviously he's scoring a ton of goals, getting a ton of assists, but he looks so comfortable out there. Like he doesn't look like a rookie who's trying to prove himself. He looks like I deserve to be here, and he does. But just the way that he's sort of merged himself into that offense and not really taken control. And the whole offense doesn't revolve around getting Kirst the ball, but everybody's certainly happy to get Kirst the ball because it usually works out pretty well. Yeah, so I would have to say Kirst is my rookie of the year at this point.
Now, I have heard some people talk about possibly Owen Hiltz, but when I look at the numbers, and I'm a numbers guy, you're a numbers guy, obviously, like CJ Kurz to me, I think there might, like, sometimes I think Nolan Byrne can kind of give him a run for his money, but then I'll look and, Byrne will get up, like, I think it was 4 goals he put up, and then CJ Kurz 7 points. So it's like, I don't know. CJ Kurz is just doing things that I didn't think a rookie could do.
Yeah, it's really impressive. And like I said, he looks comfortable. He looks like he belongs there, and he's getting the respect of not only his teammates, but opposing defenses are kind of not even really focused on him, but they're not taking it easy on him. Figure, well, he's a rookie. We can let's focus on Boucher and Matthews. He's just another weapon that they have to focus on, the same as like Boucher and Matthews and those kind of guys.
And that's why I think the rookies, maybe the veterans were struggling at first because they were focusing so much on the veterans, and then the rookies kind of taking the shine, and now they're able to split it up. But like I said, that team is just firing on all cylinders. There is nobody better. Nick Rose has had an amazing year. Speaking of goalies now here too, like now we've seen the rule change where players aren't allowed to be in the crease. You think that would have increased goals, but we actually seen at the beginning of the year goals have went like way down. Now it seems to kind of came back up. But what's your thoughts on that?
On the rule?
No, like the way that the goals were down at the beginning of the year, even save percentage is way up compared to last year and historically. Like usually I find historically to be good from what I was looking over numbers, you have to be at like that 78, 79 percentage for goalies. This year it seems like it's 81, 82.
Yeah, I was thinking about that a little while ago, and I meant to do some more, mathematical research and statistical research, and I never actually got there. When looking at the 2020 season, where we only played 2/3 of the season and then the rest was canceled, save percentages and goals against averages are uh, sort of at record levels for that season. If you look at like the best seasons ever in terms of goals against or save percentage, it's like 4 of the top 8 are from the 2020 season in both of those things. I started to wonder, maybe it's typical every year that save percentages are higher at the beginning and then they gradually sort of taper off. And by the end of the season, you're looking at, like you said, 78, 79% save percentages. But because we never got the end of that season, it never actually had a chance to come down. And I wondered if that was an anomaly because the season was shorter or an anomaly because the goaltending just happened to be better. And I never managed to look into that, so I don't have an answer to that question. But it looks like if that's the case in 2026, it was even more of an effect because, like you said, we were having all kinds of really low scoring games at the beginning of the season, and yeah, goaltending across the board was just we're looking phenomenal. Obviously, Dobson, I think, is bringing all the numbers down just by himself, but a bunch of other goalies are having great seasons as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've seen amazing performances by like Dylan Ward. You've seen obviously Brett Dobson almost every game. Christian, same thing. Delbs there has just been phenomenal. Those three are the kind of the cream of the crop. But then you'll even see Zach Higgins have a really good game. And it's just when I'm looking at it, and then historically we're in week 17. I think the numbers are still pretty high. I'd have to check them this week. I haven't got a chance to yet. But it's just I thought it would have been the opposite with the rule changing a little bit. And it almost seems like to me the rule might actually help goalies when we thought it might have hurt them almost.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think the rule has been sort of backed off a little bit in recent weeks because it seemed to be in the first 6 to 10 weeks of the season, if there was a defender in the crease or just with his foot on the line and the ball hit him, he got the penalty. And it seems like in the last few weeks, they've actually looked at it a little closer and said, okay, he was in the crease and the ball hit him, but he wasn't trying to stop it. He wasn't there to stop it. He was focused on his defender, or he was doing something else. He wasn't trying to act like a goalie. So they didn't call it. So I actually saw that in the Halifax, Georgia game. I don't remember who it was, but there was a defender in the crease and got hit by the ball, but he didn't even know the shot was coming. He was focused on his defender. So it looks like they're I want to say cleaning that up a little bit, in that it's not just a zero tolerance. If you get hit by the ball, then you get the penalty. But yeah, it does seem that adding that rule should make it a little more difficult for goaltenders. And I don't know if it's had the opposite effect, but it certainly hasn't had the effect that we might have expected.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up that point too, because I wonder, it's the ruling. I think I'm going to give my opinion here, but I think that it wasn't written great. I mean, they kind of threw it in there last minute a little bit, at least from my perspective, and it's been called a little bit differently all year. Like, how do you like the rule? Do you think that the language will change maybe in the off season a little bit to try to clear it up?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if they cleaned that up a little bit. There was just some And maybe that was part of it. There was some sort of misinterpretation or the potential of misinterpretation anyway, or different officials interpreting it differently and therefore calling it differently. So maybe that's why they said, okay, just zero tolerance. This is how we're going to interpret the rule to begin with. And then maybe the officials all got together and said, okay, we need to change this because this is getting silly. Or the league came down and said, no, you can't call it that way. You got to call it this way. This is what was intended. So hopefully if they're sort of getting closer to calling it the way they intended it, then hopefully in the off season they can reword it a little bit so that the actual wording in the rule book reflects how they want it called.
No, absolutely. I agree. I think, like I said, I think it needs to be reworded and cleared up so these refs are calling it. So everyone's on the same page, essentially, right? Because and I've seen it called a few different ways in different games. And luckily it hasn't cost anything yet, but we'll see as the playoffs come on. So, right off the top of my head, like, who do you think's making the playoffs? Who do you think's not making the playoffs?
Well, I think the top five are probably, for the most part, locks. I mean, Saskatchewan, Vancouver, Colorado are already there. I think Georgia and Toronto are the next two, and I don't see a realistic scenario where they don't make the playoffs. The last three, I think, will probably end up being Buffalo and then Ottawa. And the last one, I'm not sure about. It's probably going to be either Las Vegas or San Diego. And the cool thing about that is that they play each other in each of the last 2 weeks of the season. So that home and home. And I think there were people that said this at the very beginning of the season, as soon as the schedule came out, said, oh, Las Vegas and San Diego play home and home in the last 2 weeks. I wonder if that will decide a playoff spot. And that would be pretty exciting if those two games came down to which of those two make the playoffs. But those
Yeah, I
those are
mean,
the eight that I think will probably make it.
yeah, I'm pretty much on the board with you. I think Vegas is going to be the one, and that's because I've gone through the schedules and looked all the like through the remaining games of Halifax is out now, but I was last week it was like Halifax, Rochester, San Diego, and Vegas. And I was looking through them, and I was like, it just looks like Vegas has the walk to get there. And for me, I've been like, again, I wasn't in love with San Diego. I figured they'd be kind of sitting here at this point. Or were you surprised by them at all, or did you think that they'd be in that top? Like, I know a lot of people were saying they were going to be in that top six of the league this year.
I think San Diego's been weird for years because it's like on paper, they're one of the best teams. And then when it comes down to it, they're pretty good, but they've never been as strong as people thought they were going to be. And thus they've never had the success in the postseason that people thought they were going to have. And so I think maybe I looked at the team and said, yep, it looks great on paper, but we've said that a million times before. So it wouldn't surprise me if they come in sort of somewhere in the middle. So I guess they're kind of fulfilling that for me. They're in the middle. They're a bubble team. They may make the playoffs. They may not. If they play the rest of the season like they played Buffalo last night, they're in good shape. But we've seen games where they weren't that good. And Origlieri is another one of these goaltenders who can have an outstanding game and steal a win for you. And he was very close to doing that yesterday. And other games where he plays well but not outstanding. So yeah, I think San Diego's another one of these middle teams. And if they play the way they're capable of playing, they can get into the playoffs and they can make some noise there. But I think they're too inconsistent.
How big of a piece do you think Origieri is for them? Because if you know, like I noticed when he was out, they weren't the same team. Even the way they played in front of him, they played better in front of him. It just hasn't been enough. Unfortunately, they've had a lot of close games. Like, do you think he is an X factor to that team?
I think so. I think they've decided this is our guy. This is who we're going with, and he's going to have games where he plays substandard or less than not as good as he would in other weeks. And other times he's outstanding. But we have to remember he's still only 21, 22, 23, something like that. So he's really young. A lot of goaltenders don't peak until 28, 29, even 30. Fewer are like Del Bianco than somebody like Nick Rose, who played a few years as a pretty good goaltender and then a very good goaltender and then eventually became sort of the elite goaltender he is now. You don't usually start off like Del Bianco, where you're in the elite class, when you're still 21. And Origlieri, like I said, I forget exactly how old he is, but he can't be much more than 23,
I think he's
even though he's
23. I'm
got three
pretty
or
sure he's
four.
23.
Yeah, even though he's got like 3 or 4 years in the league, he could still be getting better. And so if we see more games like he played last night, he could be in the elite class in a couple of years. But he's still pretty young. He's still likely improving, and that could be pretty good for San Diego.
Well, San Diego kind of pretty much rebuilt their offense in the offseason a little bit, or at least brought in a couple key guys and lost a couple key guys. Uh, what do you think they do to go move forward here? Is this something that they should be looking at, kind of using what they have, or should they be trying to move assets and look to the future more or less?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they're very happy with Westberg running the show, and who wouldn't be? But it does seem like it's Westberg and Well, for a while it seemed like it was Westberg and a bunch of other guys. And now it's like Westberg and Trey LeClaire and a bunch of other guys. But it's less, I think it's less of a drop off than it was before. And I don't remember the numbers at all, but it did seem like a while, like everything has to go around Berg. And it was kind of odd because Curtis Dixon was there. And Curtis Dixon's one of the best ever. But I don't think he played as well in San Diego as he did in Calgary. Dane Dobbie was kind of the same. So it's kind of like they bring in all the big names, and the big names don't play quite as well as they did before. And I don't know if that's a coaching thing. I don't know if that's a team chemistry thing. I don't know why that would be. Berg has certainly not shown that. He's been amazing for the whole time he's been there. So I don't know if they keep him and keep Trey LeClaire and then shuffle everybody else around, or if they just think, well, Dylan Watson and these other guys are also pretty young. And so we give them a year or two to some more playing time and mature a little bit, and then see where we go from there.
Now, let's shift over to Halifax for a minute. Now, I personally think Halifax is ready to go through a rebuild. A lot of other people are on and I get a lot of pushback against this, but they're more on the retool side. What is your opinion on them? Do you think that they can go retool and go contend for a championship, or do you think it's time that they're getting to that old? A lot of their players are a little bit, post 35 plus 30. I think their majority of their teams plus 30. Do you think it's time to look at a full rebuild, or just retool and go for it again?
Full rebuild is pretty scary for any team, honestly. But you've got somebody like Cody Jamieson, who's in his late 30s, still playing at a very high level. So it's not like he's done now anyways. They get rid of him, but he likely doesn't have another 5 years in him. I mean, he certainly could, and his role has changed. He's not the number one guy anymore either, so that probably helps as well. But it does seem like they have all the pieces on the offense anyway. I'm less familiar with the defense, but when you've got somebody like Graham Hossack on your defense right away, you're not doing too bad. But on the offense, they've certainly got a few of the pieces. If Stotts was healthy, that would be a different thing. He's missed a couple games. Clark Peterson is certainly got another decade in him. So I'm not sure a full rebuild is necessary. And given, the fact that they came back from a 10-goal deficit yesterday to tie it, they didn't end up winning the game, but it was still a very impressive performance from both their offense and their defense and Warren Hill. Like, it was a solid, I guess, quarter and a half. Maybe the second half of the game was mostly Halifax. So I think they have the pieces there. I don't know if it's a coaching thing. The only coach they've ever had in Halifax is Mike Kersey, and so it could be that his message is starting to get lost. Not that he's a bad coach and they need somebody better, but they just might need a different voice. And sometimes that happens in a lot of sports, that the coach gets fired not because he's a bad coach or they're not listening to him. They just need some sort of change of voice, and sometimes that can make all the difference. So I don't know if that's the direction they may want to go to.
Yeah, I think if they're going to go retool, I personally think the coaching needs to be changing, and I don't want to see anybody lose their job, but if you're talking completely winning, it kind of makes sense. With the Rochester firings too, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't those the coaches that coached Halifax before they moved? The other thing is the trades they made this season, they're a little bit of a head scratcher to me. Dawson Thied trade doesn't make any sense to me still, unless you're going for that rebuild because they're trying to bring picks in. And then same as even the Tyson Bell trade again, like Casey Wilson's great. He's 24, he's young. So it looks like to me they're somewhat signaling a rebuild, but again, a lot of people just think it's a retool.
Yeah, like I said, a rebuild a big thing.
Yeah.
If in the offseason you see Randy Stotts get traded, and you can't imagine Cody Jamieson going anywhere. That's the only franchise he's ever played for. So, seeing him pull on a Rock jersey or a Bandits jersey or something would just be really weird. But yeah, if you see Stotts get traded, or even Peterson, or Graham Hossack would bring in a ton. If they start to go down that road, then yeah, things are going to be difficult in Halifax probably for a couple of years.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear too. I don't think they should trade CP24 no matter what. You got to keep him. He's 28 years old, and the things he's doing is just ridiculous. Even if you went through a full rebuild, I consider a full rebuild 3 or 4 seasons roughly, and then you're back to being competitive. Where a retool would be right away. My worry about a retool is if you go through a retool, and then you're sitting here in 2 years, and now you have to go through rebuild end, you're not going to be competitive for another 8 years compared to just kind of ripping the Band-Aid off. Again, I always say I'm just a dummy fan that's just spewing out stuff, right? But this is kind of what I see. So yeah, that's just my opinion on it. So okay, switching over, let's talk about Dane Smith a little bit, because the goal he had in overtime last night, other games this season, he's been so clutch. The first half of the season was a little bit slow starter for him, I guess. But he's right back into form, it looks like. What are your thoughts on him? We're seeing him break records all the time. Do you think he's obviously going to be going down as one of the best players of all time, but just give me your general thoughts on him.
Yeah, the greatest of all time name seems to come up a lot. And that's especially difficult when you have literally the greatest of all time as your coach and as the guy who holds most of the Bandits records going back 30 years. Will he end up passing John Tavares in terms of scoring numbers? It wouldn't surprise me if he does, because I think he's 31, 32, something like that. So he could easily play another 7, 8, 9, even 10 years, in which case, and if he keeps up anywhere near the level he's at now, he can blow all those numbers away. Now, that said, John Tavares played half his career in eight game seasons. So if he was playing 18 a season since 1992, his numbers would be astronomical. If you look at the goals per game and assists per game and that sort of thing, Tavares is still up there with the best of today. It's just a question of can they play 23 or 24 years or whatever it was that Tavares played. But now they don't need to. They're getting 18 game seasons. Dane Smith could pass them in 15 years, not 23. But it's amazing to watch Smith because he is so good at so many different aspects of the game. And I guess you're kind of seeing that with guys like Keegan Ball and Jeff Teague and stuff like that. It doesn't seem so much that whatever superstar you're talking about is, phenomenal at crease dives. But if he's, 20, 30 feet away from the net, he's not as much of a threat. Whereas Dane Smith is a threat no matter where he is, not only because he can score from anywhere, but he can pass to anybody at any time. Just watching him is exciting because you don't know what he's going to do, but you know it's going to be exciting. And yeah, so I can't imagine how difficult a defender would find it trying to cover him because you don't know what he's going to do. He's got that first step that is incredible. That by the time the defender realizes, oh crap, he's gone somewhere, he's already 3 steps away. So yeah, I love watching Dane Smith, and I'm a Rock fan, so I'm supposed to hate the Bandits. That's hard to do though. Such an exciting team, especially when Smith and Burner together are playing at the top of their game. They're amazing to watch.
Yeah, actually, that's the game I went to see was Toronto Rock versus Buffalo Bandits. I was hoping obviously the Rock would get them, but they didn't. No shame though at all. Great game. So just a couple more quick questions here. Who do you think is going to take the whole thing this year if you had to bet?
I had to bet. I mean, the obvious answers are Saskatchewan and Vancouver. Of course, it'll come down to what playoff seedings are because Saskatchewan and Vancouver may play each other in the second round, in which case they're not gonna play in the finals anyway. I don't know. I think I would have to go with Saskatchewan. I think Vancouver has slightly better goaltending with Del Bianco, but Frank Giuliano is also having a very good year. Maybe not quite as good as last year, but certainly good enough for the defense in front of him will certainly help. And with Ryan Keenan having a career year and Zach Mans and Austin Shanks and the whole offense is clicking really well. And they've got their confidence back from when they were the dynasty, in the late teens. And yeah, I think if I had to pick one right now, it would probably be Saskatchewan, with Vancouver a close second. And quite honestly, I think Toronto is my dark horse there.
I honestly,
And it's not that dark of a dark horse, honestly.
No, I like Toronto a lot. I think that, I love the underdog, so Toronto in that situation is kind of the underdog, so I really like that. Now, for your MVP, like there's basically 3 guys in my opinion. So you got Mr. Brett Dobson, you got Keegan Ball, and Jeff Teague. Who are you taking for MVP right now?
At this point, I would probably go with Dobson. The numbers he's putting up are phenomenal. I haven't looked at them this week, but I did look at them last week and found that even with the terrible game he had last week, he was still a goal ahead in goals against average, like a goal ahead of the best season ever. And he was 3 or 4 percentage points ahead of the best save percentage ever. So yeah, the numbers he's putting up are incredible. He's single-handedly stolen a number of games for the Swarm, and the Swarm would not be in the position they're in now. And with all due respect to the Swarm, they're a good team. They've played some amazing defense in particular. Dobson has sort of driven that team. So I think he would probably be not only my goaltender of the year, but my MVP at this point. The other possibility, Keegan Ball and Jeff Teague are definitely up there as well. And the other one I would say is Andrew Q. And the only time I might take him down a little bit was because he missed 3 games with injury, but which is right up there with the best of the best. So he would sort of be my dark horse for.
That's actually, you know what? That's a good answer, man, because no one's really talked about Andrew Q, and you're absolutely right. I think if he hadn't been injured and he was playing at the same pace, he would be considered with his Hoos. And Dobson, I always call Dobson the Patrick Waugh of the NLL. I think that's exactly what he is. The talent level, he's going to be, pending. I don't want to start talking GOAT with him because he's so young, but he's individual season wise, like he's so good. He's having one of the best seasons ever, if not the best season ever. And I just put him in that same category. The roughness, the toughness, stuff like that. So anyway, Graeme, thank you.
He's exciting to watch as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for being on, man. I got to get out of here, but we'll talk soon, and I appreciate you being on.
All right. Thanks very much for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
All right, I want to say thank you to Graeme Perrow for being on again. You're going to see lots more of his face. I was talking to him after the interview a little bit, and I think I'm going to try to bring him on here for a weekly segment, like Perrow's Picks or something. Maybe like a stat of the week. I haven't decided yet, but we're going to know next week or the week after. I got to see if I can tee it up. But we're going to figure out a time that works good for both of us, and we'll get it done. So yeah. So again, always, I love Graeme. One day I'm going to take him for a dinner when I get to next time I'm in Hamilton. I'm going to try to take him for dinner or something because he's such a great guy, easy to talk to. Love sitting there, and he's so knowledgeable. He knows his numbers. He knows his stuff. He's got a great perspective on the sport, and he's been watching for such a long time now, like 20 years or whatever, that he's seen the ups, he's seen the downs, and he's fit, and he's a tremendous part of the community. And I always say, if there's one guy the league could go after and hire that they don't have hired, it's him. As much as I love Frick, and I think he should be getting hired on the other side, like I said, I really do think Graeme is the guy that is the league should hire. Get him to collaborate. Get him to collaborate on the site. His site's better with numbers and stats and stuff like that, and they could really use his eye and his opinions and stuff like that. In my opinion, anyway, that's just my opinion. But I think that he does great things for the sport, and I'm always gonna talk him up. So thank you for being on here, Graeme. Love you, buddy, and we're gonna be seeing lots and lots more of his face with his new segment on the Anything Lacrosse show. So let's go. Can't wait. Okay, let's go through the weekly scores quickly. Okay. We had Las Vegas beating Rochester 17-13. Crazy game. All these are crazy games. Colorado beating Calgary 14 to Buffalo, beating San Diego 9-8 in an overtime comeback win like you've never seen before. It's insane. You got Toronto Rock beating Saskatchewan 13-9. Closer than that score looked as well. Toronto did a fantastic job though. Georgia versus Halifax. Georgia went way up. Halifax tried to claw back, but Georgia closed her down 17-. But it was absolutely tight. We're going to talk about that game. I don't know what happened. A little bit frazzled by that one. Then you got Ottawa versus Vancouver. Vancouver beating Ottawa 10-8. It's the only game I got wrong this week. I thought, to be honest with you, I was trying to I knew everyone was going to pick Ottawa or Vancouver, so I went with Ottawa. I thought there was a chance they could win. I did think Vancouver was going to win, but it is what it is. We got to start swinging for those fences if we're going to win that Who You Got prize at the end of the year. So we got to try to take some guys that a lot of people aren't taking. Now, okay, so there's a quick scores for you guys. We're gonna run through each game like we always do here. So let's get right. Let's start off with the Ottawa Vancouver game to kick off the week, kind of deal. So this was on Friday, right? Yeah. So, okay, so starting off strong, we had an attendance of 10,000 people, guys. Let's go. That's what I want to see every team do eventually. I can't wait. I love it. Vancouver, there's a few teams in here of the league that can hit that 10,000 mark. About 5 of them, about a handful of teams can do it. Vancouver's being one of them. I love it. And they should be showing up for this team, the performance they're putting on, everything like that. What a game this was, okay? So, absolutely fantastic game. You had Ottawa and Vancouver both getting 3 in the first and 1 in the second. Vancouver taking 3 in the third, where Ottawa only got 2, and then same thing in the fourth, 3 in the third over 2. So Vancouver honestly got them out, Ottawa. Like it was such a tight game. Ottawa went a little bit longer with almost just under 20 minutes without scoring a goal at 19-20 compared to Vancouver's 12-31 without going on a drought. Ottawa did have the lead for a little bit, but not for too long, only about 8 minutes. On the Ottawa side, you had Jeff Teat getting 7 points, 2 goals, 5 assists. You had Robert Hellier getting 4 points, 2 goals. Jeff Teat also had 14 shots on net and 4 loose balls. Huge. You had Riley O'Connor getting a goal and an assist for 12 shots on net, though. So you want to see him be a little bit more accurate, hopefully. Get a couple more in there. Connor Kiernan, 1 goal, 1 assist for 2 points. You had Sam Firth getting a goal, as well as Brownell getting a goal. Larson Sundown getting assists with Callum Jones. Matt Mariner, both getting assists. Caputo, 0 points, but he did get 4 loose balls and 3 shots on net. You had Reed Kurtz going 8 for 23 in the faceoffs, and on the other side of thing, and then where's the boy? And Callum Jones had 11 loose balls and 1 caused turnover and 3 blocks. So actually pretty good overall. Then on the other side of things, you had Keegan Ball putting up 8 points, 3 goals, 5 assists. Charlene Beatty is putting 3 goals, 1 assist for 4 points. Keegan Ball, got 12 shots on net and 7 loose balls, which is huge. That's huge. He's being a team player out there. You got Adam Charlene Beatty, 7 loose balls as well. 5 loose balls, 7 shots on net. Jesse King with 3 assists. Curtis Dixon with 2 goals. You had with 2 points, a goal and an assist. Christian Del Bianco with 2 assists. Brett Mikes for 2 assists. Cromwell got a goal. Dilks got an assist. It was as well as Reed Bowering. Owen Grant getting 11 loose balls. Huge there. We love Owen Grant. His production hasn't been as high this year. They've been kind of talking about that all year. And then Max Adler, 15 for 23 for 65.2% in the faceoffs, which you know how I say faceoffs don't matter, but they did, I guess, in that game. They made a little bit of a difference. Tight game. Yep, it can be an X factor sometimes. I don't think it really matters, but it's an X factor, or can be an X factor. Zach Higgins got 9 goals against, 82 save percentage, like 41 saves on 50 shots. That's a good night. Zach Higgins played well, right? But Christian Del Bianco played a little bit better with 50 shots, 42 saves. How does that make any sense? Oh, sorry, yeah. 50 shots, 42 saves for 84 save percentage. So huge. It was one goal difference, right? Basically. What's the only difference with these guys? They got an empty netter. This was such a tight game. And that was the name of the game this weekend. Was the games were so tight. Christian is just, again, Christian Del Bianco and Keegan Ball are having MVP performances this year. It's not just some of these other guys. It's crazy. It's just insane how good these teams are. So next game we had Georgia versus Halifax. Georgia squeaking a win out, and they had a great start starting with this. So starting off strong, they had 1,000 fans, which Georgia, like we know, is a passion project for the owner. So the fans don't matter as much, but you definitely want to see those crowds get up. Hopefully they can somehow figure this out, because the attendance numbers are not good enough. We need bigger. We need bigger. It's unfortunate. I don't know why they ever left Minnesota, to be honest with you. I don't know if that would ever be a consideration to going back there, but like, it doesn't make any sense. So anyway, let's get off of that. Let's get on to the positive. Georgia's having an amazing season. So you had Georgia coming out strong with 7 goals in the first, 7 goals in the first, 4 goals in the second, 4 goals in the third, and only 2 in the fourth, where Halifax started off slow. 1 goal in the first, 3 goals in the second, 2 goals in the third, and then 10 goals in the fourth. And this is what frustrates Halifax fans. This is what frustrates me, right? Because I'm like on the verge of becoming a Halifax fan. They're on the short list. It's not starting on time. You can't. How do you go put up 10 in the fourth and do that to the rest of the game, right? Now 3's not bad. That's not bad. Second, 2, you need at least 3, I would say, a quarter to really be to win the games and not have to have a fourth like this. But that first quarter is what really killed them. Let's be real. 7 goals against and only 1 scored on. Like, that's what killed you, right? Halifax, obviously, 17 and a half minutes, longest drought, which is too long. Just not enough out of everybody. Like, you had Halifax getting 11 points. Clarky Peterson, man, the best one on the team. So, like, that night, hands down. 4 goals, 7 assists for 11 points, 14 loose balls. You do retool, you do rebuilds. You keep Clarky. There's no way. That guy's the future captain of this team. That guy is the guy you should build around. This kid's special. He's 28 years old. He's still got, lots of years in this league. Let's look into a rebuild and get, be a young, scrappy team, and he'll be the veteran at that point. Anyway, Stephen Cole, 4 goals, 1 assist, 5 points. Mike Robinson, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. Cody Jamieson, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points. Graham Hosack, 3 assists. Bloomberg, 2 goals. Yeah, Bloomberg's 2 goals for him as a rookie. Good. Will McLeod, 1 goal, 1 assist for 2 points. And that's the thing. You should be showcasing rookies at this point more now that the games don't matter as much. You got Brandon Bombear with 2 assists, Jason Knox with 2 assists, Ryan Terfenko with 2 assists, Colton Armstrong with 2 assists, Thompson with an assist as well, and you had Jake Withers. Are you ready for this? Jake Withers with 35 for 36, and some people tell you he didn't even lose that one. So, crazy. Terfenko got 11 loose balls too. Shout out to that as well. Crazy, guys. Insanity. And even with all of that, you still lost the game. Faceoffs don't matter. Let's go. Shane Jackson, 2 goals, 7 assists for 9 points. You got 2 loose balls. Lyle Thompson, it's big night for Lyle Thompson, a goal and 6 assists for 7 points. Nolan Byrne, 4 goals. Richie Connell, 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. And I want to say too, Lyle Thompson got 8 loose balls. Nolan Byrne got 6. So oh no, he didn't. Oh, sorry. Oh, never mind. Cancel that. Scratch that. Cut. So Jordan McIntosh, a goal and 3 assists. Mike Triolo, a goal and 2 assists. Caleb Benedict, goal and 2 assists. Eidman got a goal and 2 assists. Brian Cole got a goal and an assist. Michael Grace got a goal and an assist. 8 loose balls and 3 caused turnovers. 4 penalty minutes. Jacob Hickey with a goal, as well as Seth Van Steppen with a goal, and Jeff Henrique with an assist. Brett Dobson with an assist. Ben Trumbull, rough night for Ben Trumbull. 0 for 17, not great. Mike Manley was 1 for 17, not great, and just absolutely getting destroyed. Just getting destroyed out there. Then you got, oh God, okay, so the goaltending, I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but you got Drew Hutchinson, Warren Hill got 38 shots, 26 saves for 68.4 save percentage. And then they got Hutch went in there, 12 shots. He only played 9 minutes, 12 shots, 8 saves for 6.7, so not great. Yeah, Brett Dobson, great game overall. Okay. 51 shots, 41 saves for an 80.4 save percentage. And Devin Shanahan with 9 shots, 3 saves for a 33.3. What happened here? Let's talk about it. Georgia was up by a lot. A lot. They said, oh, Brett Dobson, go to the bench. Have a good night. You can sit down. This game's over. Goes to the bench. Gets undressed. Gear's off. Okay? Or at least most of his gear. At least his upper body gear was off, I seen. Shanahan starts letting him in. Boom, 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 boom. For some reason, Brett Dobson did not start going to get ready. And I'm not blaming Brett Dobson, okay? But Brett Dobson did not start going to get ready until they were only up by 1. Guys, at 3 goals, get him back in there, okay? Brett Dobson goes back in, lets 1 in. A little bit cold, trying to come back in, right? Plays amazing, though. Was still playing good, but just let 1 in. They tie it up. Halifax ties it up. Georgia goes in there and gets it done at the end. But, it was insane what happened there. Why would you leave it like that? Why would you let that? That was a stupid call. Coaching decision, whatever. I get you want to get your guy playing, and I think it's great. They were up by a lot. They should have been able to let Shanahan go in there. 3 goals. Get Dobson back in there, buddy. Or maybe next time. Shanahan's obviously maybe not the guy. Maybe next time just wait and not so early next time, right? That just goes to show. And this is the thing. I'm going on about everybody and the MVPs earlier on in the episode here. But that should show everybody that how valuable Brett Dobson is to Georgia. Because look what happens when he's not in the net. So that's terrifying. Brett Dobson's just going to get a blank check written to him. Here you go. What do you want on your next one? Here's the salary cap implications. How can we give it to you? So there you have it. There's Halifax Georgia game. Just fantastic game. I love seeing that stuff. As a fan, that's exactly what you want. There's nothing more you could ask for, but it's crazy. Now Halifax, if they just started on time, they would have well, it's hard to say that because I think Brett Dobson would have never been pulled. And he's just on fire. He wouldn't let that other goal in either. That's the thing. He probably, he would have got a lot more shots. So he would have had a lot better elevated save percentage if he would have just been able to not go back in there. So crazy game. But that was the whole weekend. I'm telling you, both games, and we're gonna talk about the next one too. And it's just they're all crazy. So we had Saskatchewan versus Toronto. Toronto putting up 7,400 fans, 7,477. Awesome. That's great. We need to be above that 7,000 number. The more, the better. But this is a great start. So perfect. Love to see that. Now Toronto upset Saskatchewan. This is Saskatchewan. I don't know what's going on with them. They were at the top. They had everybody. They were the elite of the elite here, guys. Now they're a little bit rocky here. They're a little bit rocky here. Okay. So we got Saskatchewan getting 3 in the first, 1 in the second, 3 in the third, and 2 in the fourth. We had Toronto getting 2 in the first, 4 in the second, 3 in the third, and 4 in the fourth to clutch it out. And this was another amazing game, okay? The biggest thing I wanted to mention here, Toronto's longest drought without scoring was 8 minutes and 28 seconds. That is fantastic. And you had Saskatchewan 12:33, which is really respectable, honestly. Toronto had the lead for most of it here. Not too many penalties overall, to be honest with you. And it was very Toronto all second. Toronto had the second completely. That was their quarter. Split the third, I would say. Even split the first. Saskatchewan did have a slight edge in the first. Split the second, Toronto had the second, split the third, and then Toronto just squeaked out the fourth. This was tight. CJ Kirst again, scoring when it mattered. I know he was an empty netter at the end, but oh my God, the guy's just absolutely ridiculous. Just continuously CJ Kirst, man, he really put them up and above in that second, getting the hat trick in 1 quarter. And it's every time I look at Nolan Byrne and I'm like, man, he had such a great night. And then you look at CJ Kirst and it's hold my beer, buddy. And it's nothing against Nolan Byrne. I love Nolan Byrne, but CJ Kirst is just ridiculous. So anyway, we got Robert Church getting 6 points, 4 goals, 2 assists. Ryan Keenan getting 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points. Zach Mans, 5 assists for 5 points. Brock Haley with 2 goals. Austin Shanks with a goal. Levi Anderson with an assist, as well as Levi Versh. I always get that one wrong. Levi Versh with an assist. Ryan Burnable with an assist. Matt Hosak with 12 loose balls and 5 caused turnovers. That is massive. Man. Wow. Still not enough on this side. And then you had Jake Nasso with 15 for 26 in the faceoffs. Huge. On the other side of things, CJ Curse, you had 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points. Sheldon Rogers with 7 assists. You had Owen Helst with 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. Mark Matthews with a goal and 3 assists for 4 points. You had Chris Bushi with 3 goals with a half. You had Chris Bushi with a hat trick. Josh Dawick with a goal and 2 assists, 3 points. Aaron Weeks with a goal, as well as Latrell Harris and Elijah Gash. Sam English had an assist with 10 loose balls and 1 a block. You had Kellier with an assist and 7 loose balls. You had Rolette with an assist. He also went 11 for 26, so lost faceoffs. And Brad Cree had 7 loose balls as well. In the goaltending, Frankie had 44 shots for 32 saves for a 72.7 save percentage, so not a great night for Frankie there. And then you had Nick Rose with a 50 shots for 41 saves for an 82 save percentage. Nick Rose is the guy, bro boys. Nick Rose is the guy. I'm telling you right now, man. A lot of people, and I would love to see him go win a championship because he doesn't have one. He does not have a championship. I would love to see, let the haters hate. Imagine Toronto wins the championship against the first overall pick. That'd be insane. They're probably not going to because Philly's going to get it, but it's just insane. All right, next we got Buffalo and San Diego. So you got Buffalo not beat San Diego 9-8. This was the game that ended the week. It had a 6,000 attendance. So San Diego still, they sometimes put up really good numbers, but they've had a lot of lower games this season, and I don't know what this is. Maybe Saturday's so late. I don't know. I've heard this so many times. Like it's weird how San Diego. I'm going to go through at the end of the season. I'm going to do a big attendance breakdown. It'll be one of my topics in the end of the episode. And I'm going to go through all this because I did this last season and I'm going to do it again this season and see where we're at with attendance because I don't know, San Diego, I don't know what it is about there. So anyway, you got 6,000 fans just over that. So we're under, we need to be at 7,000 fans. That's what the commissioner said. So I'm just basing my stuff off what was said by him. So you had, and this was a massive comeback. This is probably one of the best comebacks I've ever seen. This is just insane. And Dane Smith is absolutely clutch. So you had Buffalo get 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, and then 5 in the fourth to clutch it out, and then 1 in overtime. Then you had San Diego get 2 in the first, 2 in the second, 3 in the third, and 1 in the fourth. They've just had an offensive issue this year. Their offense hasn't seemed to get it going. Buffalo went 31 minutes without a goal. That's a red flag. That's right. I'm surprised they won the game a little bit with that, but this thing about Buffalo is they're so good they can get away with doing that. Most teams can't. Josh Byrne got a goal and 6 assists for 7 points. Dane Smith got 3 goals, 3 assists, getting 6 points with the overtime winner. Huge. Buchanan got a goal and 3 assists. Nanticoke got 2 goals. Joey Reds got his first goal as a Buffalo Bandit returning. Scanlon got a goal. Ian McKay got an assist. Steve Priolo got an assist. Mitch DeSnew got 20. Oh my God. Okay, Mitch DeSnew got 20 loose balls. 2 caused turnovers and 3 blocks. Okay. Spoiler, he's gonna be my defenseman of the week. I got news for you there. You got Paul Dawson also getting 5 loose balls. Then you got Connor Farrell going 8 for 22 in the faceoff. So there you have it. And then on the other side, Ben McIntosh got 3 goals, 1 assist for 4 points. Wesley Berg got 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. Trey Leclerc got 4 assists. Zach Currier got 2 goals, 1 assist. Ari Stihinis got a goal. Connor Robinson got an assist, as well as Danny Logan, Dylan Watson, Trent Akiko, James Barkley, Trevor Baptiste. Also, he went 14 for 22 in the faceoffs. So there you have it, guys. Crazy. Shows again. Faceoffs don't matter. 20 loose ball pickups is insane. Insane. Tweet that shit out. And it's just crazy. Like that's Buffalo. Buffalo's scary. Buffalo is scary. Their backs are against the wall. They're terrifying. And this is the thing. Like San Diego always gives Buffalo a hard time. I'm telling you, look at this I'm pretty sure this is identical to the score of last year's playoffs. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Okay, Calgary versus Colorado. Colorado putting 9,350 fans in the building. So not bad. Good. They can get over 10,000 though, but still not bad. So this one was back and forth for the most part. Colorado actually they went up. Calgary came back and just kind of ran out of time a little bit, to be honest with you. So this was closer than I want to say. Well, I mean, 14-12. There was an empty netter, I think, at the end. Let me just double check that. Oh, maybe it wasn't an empty netter. Oh no, this is the game winner. I thought it was an empty netter. Must not have been, maybe. Anyway, okay, so we had Calgary getting 2 in the first, 3 in the second, 4 in the third, 3 in the fourth, and you had Colorado getting 3 in the first, 5 in the second, 3 in the third, and 3 in the fourth. So obviously that second quarter really won or made the difference anyway, and that's how tight these games are. To be honest with you, the longest drought was also only 9 minutes by Colorado. where Calgary had 12, which is still both very impressive. Calgary has absolutely impressed me, and to be honest with you, they're kind of on my list to be my team too, because that's like a little dark horse to be on my team, because I love their fan base. They're passionate as shit. I honestly could argue Calgary's got the most passionate fan base, but Halifax is up there too. I don't know. Halifax, Buffalo, Calgary, Colorado are probably like the top 4 fan bases, I would have to say, if I had to put it together today off the top of my dome. I would have to say probably that. Anyway, Tyler Pace with 9 points, 5 goals, 4 assists for 9 points. Tanner Cook with 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 points. Brandon Maya got 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. Noah Manning got a goal and an assist for 2 points. Connor Cook got a goal and an assist for 2 points. Hayden Dixon got 2 assists, as well as Salama. Kyle Pepper got a goal. Gauthier, Lady, Lowen, and Walsh all got assists. Ignacio going 50% for 14 for 28. So that's not bad, but he's really good. So on the other side of things, you had Andrew Q getting 10 points, 6 goals, 4 assists for 10 points. We talked about this. We talked about this with Graham too. He called this out, actually. I'm not going to he called this out. He said Andrew Q should be considered, and I have to agree with him hard. I do. So he's also had 6 loose balls. You had Jack Hanna with 3 goals, 3 assists for 6 points. Will McLeod with 3 goals, 3 assists for 6 points. Brandon Saris with 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. Robert Hope with 2 assists, as well as Warren Jeffrey. You had Matthew Pilato with an assist, as well as Ari Stevens with an assist. Tim Edwards and Dylan Ward both had assists. And Pilato also went 50%, which is huge against Ignacio because he absolutely kills it. He just absolutely kills it. And then in the goaltending, you had Aiden Walsh getting 50 shots, 36 saves for 72 save percentage. Not the best night for him, and he's had ups and downs all season, but I think he is going to become a great goaltender. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And then you got Dylan Ward, and I think this is Calgary's guy. At least Calgary. This is the thing about Calgary. Everyone's kind of hating on Calgary. Calgary, they're in a rebuild, and I can tell you, they already got their goaltender. They already got a couple guys that are really killer. They've already got a couple really young guys. It just sucks they don't have the first round pick this year. Then you got, and I broke one of the Calgary's fans' heart today with telling them that too. I do feel bad. Dylan Ward got 60 shots on net, 48 saves for an 80 save percentage. So again, great night for Dylan Ward. Bounce back. Obviously, everyone's entitled to a bad game, and it's nice to see him bounce right back. So absolutely huge. Great game. Again, another great game, another close game, right down to the wire. This was all the weekend. This is all weekend was right down to the wire. It didn't matter. All right. And then finally, we have Las Vegas beating Rochester 17-13, but I can tell you this was way closer than the score says. It was right down to the wire. This is another right down to the wire game. 5,400 in attendance. So again, we got to get this number up, but that's not that bad because I think at max it only holds 6. It's really that's really not bad for Vegas. I get, this is where I get into it. It's like I think Vegas should be downtown. People don't agree with me because they think it's cheaper to be out here. I understand where that thought process comes from, but if you're talking runway, you need to be downtown in Vegas. Just my opinion. Even if they could do a couple games a year, maybe at the main arena, whatever. The Gretzky night probably would be a good one to do at the Jersey. It's really cool little concept they have there. So you got Vegas putting up 8 in the first, 2 in the second, 2 in the third, and 5 in the fourth. And then you got Rochester getting 1 in the first, 5 in the second, 4 in the third, and 3 in the fourth. And that's what I was saying. It was a closer game than it looked because Vegas went out way ahead, but Rochester really fought their way back. As much as you know how much I like to hate on Rochester. Rochester fought their way back. They played really well. Just unfortunately didn't start on time. When you're in this kind of situation, when you've already lost this team the week before, to not start on time is just it's ridiculous. You need to come out and get ready to play. You can't let a team go up and put 8 goals up on you, 7 goals up on you in the first half. Rochester and Halifax, come on. Anyway, so you had Mitch Jones getting 9 points, 4 goals, 5 assists for 9 points. Nobody talks about this guy enough. 9 loose balls as well. Huge. Clutching it out. Poltres got 5 goals, 3 assists for 8 points. Donville got a goal and 6 assists for 7 points. Chris Cloutier got 3 goals, 2 assists for 5 points. He had an amazing goal too. You have Kyle Killen for a goal and 3 assists for 4 points. Kevin Crowley with a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. Brandon Goodwin with a goal and assist for 2 points. You had Connor Kirst for 2 assists, and you had Drew Belgave got a goal. Lafontaine got an assist, as well as Stokes. They both got assists. You had Connor Kirst go 3 for 11 in the faceoffs, and you had Tyler Hammer Jackson go 6 for 24. So not great on both of their parts. And Hammer Jackson got 10 penalty minutes. Connor Fields with 17 shots on goal, 5 goals, 3 assists for 8 points. You had Ryan Launchberry with 2 goals, 6 assists for 8 points. You have Thomas McConvey for 6 assists. You have Ryan Smith for 4 goals, 1 assist for 5 points with 5 loose balls. You have Blaze Riordan getting a goal and assist for 2 points. Zed Williams getting a goal and assist for 2 points. Waters getting 2 assists. Lloyd getting assists, as well as Jeremy Thompson. Josh Medeiros, both with assists. You had Nathan Kapp, which is a rookie, as well. He got 26 for 35 in the faceoffs. But still, like I said, at the end of the day, guys, they have some good pieces, but they're just not getting enough. Alex Bouquet, not a great night. 44 shots, 31 saves for 70 save percentage. And then you had Landon Kells come in, get 11 shots, 11 saves for 100%. I don't know, man. You can't decide. They can't decide who the goalie is there. And that's the issue. This is the issue with running a quote unquote tandem, is you never know who the goalie is. And it's like that one of them have come in and have a good night, the other one won't. This is shaky. It's fine for the regular season. They're going to get to the playoffs, but get in the playoffs, you're not going to do anything with a goaltending like this. Then you got on the other side, you had same thing, goaltending issues. They're the exact same team, just on different things. I would say Las Vegas probably has a better back end at this point now, I would say. Still, Tyson Bell too. Tyson Bell, 4 loose balls. Nothing crazy with him this season or this week too. But on the other side, at least you had one goalie steps up. Both these goalies did not have good games. You had Rylan Hartley with 13 shots, 6 saves for 46.2 save percentage. Hutchcraft, you had Hutchcraft with 41 shots, 32 saves for 78 save percentage. I don't know, guys. I don't know, guys. I don't know what to say. Pretty obvious why Hutch got pulled here. And they need, or not Hutch, why Hartley got pulled here. Hutch went in and had a decent performance. Like, it's not like he was great, but it was passable for most nights. But unfortunately, when you dig a hole that deep, it's hard to come back from it. And that's really what happened here. So yeah. So anyway, there's a deep dive into the games. As always, like I said at the beginning of this, like, this was the craziest weekend I've ever seen. It really was. If you're talking like all together, every game after game after game, like, if you're not watching box lacrosse, you just haven't given it a chance, right? That's what I truly believe that. Or the game you went to maybe wasn't like this, because if you would have sat down and watched any of these games, you would be hooked. Especially that Buffalo game or something, like, you'd be absolutely hooked. It's magic. I love it. It's for me as a sports fan, it's just like, it's amazing. So let's look over the standings. Saskatchewan is falling from grace. So you have Saskatchewan with 11-4 record, Vancouver with an 11-4 record, Colorado with 10-5, Georgia with a 9-5, Toronto with a 9-5, Buffalo with an 8-6, Ottawa with an 8-7, Las Vegas 6-7. San Diego with 6-8, Rochester with 5-8, Halifax with 5-9, Calgary with 4-10, Oshawa with 4-10, and Philadelphia with 3-11. Massive, guys. Okay, so let's start off right away. As you all know, I'm going to be picking a playoff team to run with, and if that team ends up winning championship, I will become a fan base. I'll become jump on their fan base, tattoo on my shoulder or on my arm, just like I do on with my leaf. And I think it's only right that my lacrosse team go there. So that's what I'm going to be doing. But with that being said, let's get into, Saskatchewan. Let's just run through these teams quick, okay? Let's see where we're sitting. They're obviously making the playoffs. They've already clinched a spot. I think Saskatchewan, Vancouver, let's go look at this quick on the official site for a minute. Go into standings. Oh, yeah. So we have Saskatchewan, Vancouver, and Colorado all have officially clinched the playoffs. So there's 3. So that leaves Georgia. They're at 9. They're basically clinched, but they got to win. So you got Colorado. So let's go into, I think that the best thing to do here is to go in and see, let's look at all the teams that we know are going to make the playoffs or are still in the running. And let's go through this quick. Let's go. So we'll start with Georgia. So Georgia needs 1 win and they clinched, right? Or a bunch of teams to lose. All right. So Georgia's got 4 games left. Okay. So they've got Ottawa, San Diego, Rochester twice. You know they're going to get one of those Rochester games for sure. Ottawa is kind of, to me, honestly, it's an up in the air, but I do think they probably get Ottawa. San Diego, they're going to get, in my opinion, especially the situation they're in. But San Diego is weird that way. Like, they'll come out and have a big win. So, to be honest with you, they at least get one of these wins. Guaranteed are going to split, even if you split the Rochester. So, that's going to be enough to get in the playoff. Where they end up, that's arguable. They do need to probably get 3 out of the 4 of these wins in order to try to get a home playoff advantage. So, but I don't know how much actually playing in Georgia is really an advantage, to be honest with you. In all fairness, no hate, but it is something to consider. So, Georgia's basically in. I've still got them in, obviously. Toronto, let's see who Toronto has left. Now, Toronto is at a 9-5 as well, so they need 1 more win to get in, or a bunch of teams to lose, and they just keep losing. But they have 4 games left as well, and they are on a 3-game heater, so they've won 3 in a row. They've won 4 of their last 5. They're on a heater, and I think they're like 7-10, 7 of their last 10 or something. So they're killing it. They've got Philly, which they should win. This should be a clinch. Like, if they don't feed Philly, that's sad. Then they got San Diego. Then they got Ottawa. Then they got Saskatchewan. So you really want to try to win the next 3 in a row and go 6 in a row and then maybe lose to Saskatchewan. Like, that's going to put them in a prime position that they're going to have a home playoff advantage. So that's huge. That's huge there. So I'm going to say they're in the playoffs, basically, right? So those 2, I'm going to say we got 5 teams in the playoffs. Buffalo, let's be real, guys. It's amazing what they did. They were on a 4-game losing streak. They lost they lost 5 out of 6 games here, and now they've had 4 in a row, and they've just reinvented themselves. 2 in overtime too. Like, this could be a lot differently if Saskatchewan would have beat them in overtime, or San Diego would have beat them in overtime. So you've got they play now. They don't have the easiest schedule left. They play Saskatchewan, Vancouver, Rochester, and Oshawa, and they are, what are they? They're 8-6. So they need 2 of these wins to get in the playoffs. It's all. They're going to get the Rochester win, I think, and they get the Oshawa. If they can steal one of the next 2, that's going to be really good for them. But if they don't if they don't get their next 2, their backs are going to be against the wall again, and you know they're going to win the last 2. So that's my prediction, is they're going to make playoffs. I think there is a world where Buffalo doesn't make the playoffs still, but to me it's pretty unlikely. Now, Ottawa disappointed me this week, especially because they probably could have not clinched the playoff spot yet, but they would have been like right there. And they've only got 3 games left. They've got 3 games, and they're 8-7. So they got to win 2 out of 3 to clinch playoff for sure. Or they win 1, they go 1-2, and they can still maybe squeak into the playoffs. They've got Georgia, Toronto, and Halifax. So Halifax are going to win, right? You would think, especially if their backs against the wall there. And they have to get one of these games. Are they going to beat Georgia, or are they going to beat Toronto? Because if they don't beat Georgia, they're on a 3-game losing streak. And like I said at the beginning of the season, when they lost to San Diego, that game may bite them in the ass, same as this Calgary loss a couple weeks ago, may bite them in the ass going on here. They could be sitting in a playoff spot right now if they would have just won those 2 games. So they got to go win. Can they beat Georgia this weekend? I don't know. This is gonna be an amazing weekend, but this is tight. Do I think they're gonna make the playoffs? I do think they're gonna make the playoffs. I do think, but it's gonna be tight. We're gonna see how they do over the next couple weeks, and then we'll go from there. But oh man, it's gonna be a bumpy road. I think they make it, though. I do think they make it. Las Vegas. So Las Vegas is 6-7, but luckily for them, they have 5 games left. This is the biggest advantage to them and the teams they play. So they play Calgary. Calgary is a must-win game for them. This next week is a must-win game for Vegas, and that's going to give them 3 wins in a row after having 4 losses in a row. So this is a massive game. So they got Calgary, then they got Colorado, then they got Philly, then they got San Diego twice. So I'm going to count them. Still, like I said, I think they win. They get 3 out of their last 5 games. 3 out of 5 games puts them at 9-9. Is that enough to make the playoffs? I personally think it is, but we'll see. Right? If they can still win off Colorado, if they can sweep the San Diego series, and that's funny, that San Diego series might be a playoff decider. I really do think it's going to be. The more I look at it, it's crazy, man. It's crazy how they did it. San Diego had back-to-back games with Oshawa, and if they would have lost against Oshawa both those games, Oshawa would have made the playoffs last year. They missed. San Diego got the game. They got the win, and they went to the first round and lost by 1 goal to Buffalo. So that sucks. And that's how tight this league is. So let's look up San Diego. As much as I'm a hater, let's see what they got. So they are 6-8. So this is a little bit scary, but they are in their own they are still in their control of their own destiny. Because if they go 4 in a row, they get 10 wins. They could still win their way to the playoffs. But they have Toronto, which is going to be clinching out a playoff spot this week. So that one I can't give them the win for. They got Georgia, same kind of idea. They're going to be looking to clinch a playoff spot, possibly at that game. You got Las Vegas twice. It's going to be it. But even if they go in and they beat Las Vegas twice, I don't know it's going to be enough, because these next 2 games, they have to steal one of the next 2 games in order to make the playoffs. I think that's where I'm at with them. Do I think they're going to do it? I don't think San Diego's good enough. I don't know what it is. It's just, like I said, all season, I've been very strong on that. I said they were going to be a bubble team. I actually said they were going to be actually lower. I thought they were going to finish 4th from the bottom. So under Halifax, which could still happen. I got news for you. That can still happen. If I do correctly, originally I had them really low, but I think I had them at 6 wins. I'm almost positive. So we'll see what happens, but we're going to go back. We're doing an episode where we're going to go back and I'm going to pull all my predictions from the beginning of the season. So it's coming, boys. It's coming. So, and then we got 4-10. So they got 4 games left. So, and then for the hell of it, we'll look up Halifax. Crazy. It's not going to happen, but you never know. What do I always say? You never know in this league. So you got Oshawa. They play, who's this? Oh yeah, you got Rochester. So Rochester has Oshawa, Halifax, Buffalo, and then Georgia twice. Not loving the Georgia twice part. Buffalo not loving that game for them. I will tell you that. They're probably going to give them one out of the Georgia games. Halifax, I think they get Halifax, but you never know. Halifax is a weird team, man. And their backs are right against the wall. They have to win their way in, right? They have to win their way in, and they still have to have teams lose. So this is going to be a massive game. This is going to be a massive heart check game for Halifax, in my opinion, but I am going to give it to Rochester. I'm going to say 2. And then we're going to say Oshawa. They're going to beat Oshawa. Let's be real. This is good. They're beating Oshawa. Like, they're on a 3-game losing streak. They're beating Oshawa. That's going to be an easy 10 game when it's there for me. So they got 3 wins. That brings them to 8 and 10 essentially. I think now they might sweep. They might get Georgia twice, maybe. Right, that brings them to 9. They basically need to realistically they got to win 4 out of 5 if they want to go and make the playoffs. But even they got to win 5 games straight. Like that's really puts them in the best position. And then finally we're gonna look at Halifax just to see. Halifax is 5-9, and they're they started their season out 3-2, which isn't horrible, right? Back-to-back wins, almost lost against Buffalo that second game, but back-to-back wins. And then they had a 5-game losing streak, won 2 games, lost another 2, tight games though, both 1-goal games. So let's look at this. They've had 5 1-goal game losses, and they've had 1 1-goal game win. So that's insane. That's what I always say. If they would have just split that, and I thought they had 5. Let's say they had 3 wins out of that. Right now they'd be sitting 8 wins, and they'd be sitting 6 losses. So that's how close this league is, guys. And imagine if they had all 5, right? So that's the thing. That's how close it is. Now, could they go on a run? Now, let's say hypothetically they go on a run. And here's the thing. They've got Philly, Rochester, Vancouver, and Ottawa. That's a hard road. Now, is it the hardest road? No. The problem is, if they go 4 in a row, they're only going to be 9-9. And I'm not saying that's not good enough, but I'm saying that it's going to come down to tiebreakers, and more than likely, unless something crazy happens. So we'll keep the eye on, but they have to win every game. There's no other options. If they lose one more, it's over for sure, and it's probably already over. But Halifax still has a chance. They still have a chance. Show some heart. Go out there, get some wins. Philly has to be a win. Rochester has to be a win. And that's what I just said. That game's going to be a banger. That game is going to be a banger. Rochester versus Halifax, and it's I think it's in Rochester if I'm not mistaken. No, it's in Halifax. I'm going to that one. I'm going to go to that one. April 4th. I'm going to April 4th game. 1,000%. We're going to go rock the Halifax jersey. We're going to go show them some support, and we're going to try to get them in the playoffs. I hate Rochester. Fuck Rochester. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I'm a Rochester hater. So we got to hopefully Halifax. Okay, here's the deal. I will go to the Rochester game if they beat Philly. That's the deal. I'll go buy tickets to the Rochester game if they beat Philly. I'm not fucking going there to watch the team if they're not going to win. But that's not even true. I would still go down and watch them, but I'll make it a thing. I'll go down April 4th there to watch a Rochester game. I'm actually probably going to take my kids too. So, yeah. So there you have it. There's my thing, guys. There's your playoff chances, okay? All right, so my power rankings this week are Vancouver at 1, obvious reasons, they're just such a top team. Buffalo at 2, I think they're super hot right now. I think it's really going to be hard to stop them. Toronto at 3, they've been playing absolute lights out. They've been beating the best teams. Their last 3 wins are Vancouver, Halifax, Saskatchewan. The only team they've lost against is Buffalo. Saskatchewan, even though they're a little bit fall from grace, they're definitely at their worst right now, with 3 out of the 4 last games being losses. But I mean, they've had such a great season up to this season. It's hard to put them any lower than this. Colorado, Andrew Q, just the goaltending performance they've been having, fantastic. They are a contender. Georgia, like I said, Brett Dobson is going to carry that team as far as they will go. I'm going to put Georgia a little bit in the dark horse category right now. You got Las Vegas. I'm going to put 7. This is going to be kind of maybe unpopular, but they are on the up. They've won. Vegas has won 2 of their last games, back-to-back games over Rochester after losing 4. I've been saying they're better than the record shows. They do have a win over Toronto and Ottawa. Obviously 2 wins over Rochester, but they have something to prove these last 5 games. Hopefully we see Chase Frazier come back, because that is going to help transform this team. Landon Kells, I would assume, is the guy they're going to be running with as well. And that's going to be their biggest issue there. Ottawa is my 8th spot. Ottawa disappointed me this week big time. Jeff Teat had a fantastic game, obviously, just as always, but they've lost the last 2, one being against Calgary, which is horrible. Vancouver is obviously a great team. Like I said, they're ranked first for a reason. And it would have just been nice to see Ottawa get the win to continue my push that they are the Kingslayers of this league. They are a dark horse to win this championship as well, but when I look at everything, do they have all the pieces? I don't know. They have got Georgia, Toronto, and Halifax left, and in their 8-7, they've got at least need 2 of those wins. One of those wins for sure. I think, like I said, we already talked about that, but they don't have the easiest games left. And are they going to be able to go steal one off Georgia? And if they don't, there's going to be a lot of panic looking at Ottawa right now. Is Jeff Teague going to still make the playoffs? All that stuff. So there's my power rankings for you. That's kind of why I always like to give a kind of an explanation. A lot of people just throw their power rankings there. I get there. I get it. It doesn't really mean anything. I would say, I just like doing power rankings for fun. It's a conversation starter, but it doesn't really mean anything. Let's be real. Nobody really gives a shit what I think, where I think the power rankings or where I think your team should fit. They know all that matters is they go win games on game day, right? So, all right, let's look into the stats here. So you got Keegan Ball leading the league with 36 goals, 71 assists for 107 points. Jeff Teat with 39 goals, 64 assists with 103 points. So only 6.9 points per game compared to 7.1. Like, it's not that much of a difference. And Jeff Teat, fun fact, 0 penalty minutes this season. Keegan Ball's got 6. Not really that big of a deal again. Jeff Teat's also caused 6 turnovers, where Keegan Ball's only got 1. And like we talked about, Jeff Teat's so much more valuable, I think, to his team than Keegan Ball. Not saying Keegan Ball isn't, but if he can keep separating himself from Jeff Teat, I think there will be a more debatable MVP conversation at that point. Then you got Dane Smith, 32 goals, 62 points for 94 points. Considering he's been almost had a quote-unquote down year a little bit, this is still insane, his production. Connor Fields at 36 goals, 51 points for 85 points. You got Josh Byrne with 25 goals, 59 assists for 84 points. Alex Simmons with 34 goals, 49 assists for 83 points. Ryan Keenan with 33 goals, 49 assists for 82 points. Mitch Jones, 30 goals, 51 assists for 81 points. Andrew Q with 43 goals, 35 assists for 78 points. 7.1 point per game average. Absolutely massive. So there's your top 10. Obviously, like you see, two guys from Ottawa, very spread out there. So let's look up the goalies real quick. So you've got Brett Dobson leading the league still in save percentage with an 84.3. Nathan Whitham's right there. I always like to shout at Nathan Whittam because he has played over 100 minutes in the league this year, and he's got an 83.8. Get him a starting position, please. But obviously, we've talked about that. Like, we've kicked that dead horse enough. You've got Christian Del Bianco, 81.9 save percentage, just absolutely massive. Ward with an 80.9. Deacon Knott, let's give him a shout out too. 207 minutes played this season in Philly, and he's got an 80.3. So I think there's Philly's goalie, to be honest with you, possibly. You've got Nick Damoud getting an 80.2. And I only say that because I think Nick Damoud needs a fresh start. Nick Rose with an 80.1 as well. Huge. Warren Hill is at a 79.8. Frankie Scelliano is at a 79.6. Dougie Jameson's at 79.5. Regulari's at 78.9. Matt Vince is at 78. Aiden Walsh is at 77.8. Zach Higgins is at 77.5. Drew Hutchinson is at 77.4. So, we got some guys in here, and obviously, realistically, Brett Dobson's just absolutely killing it, having an historic season so far, and he is 8-5. Christian is 11-4. So, obviously, few more wins out of there for Christian, but just an absolutely massive, massive game or massive year. And where would Georgia be without Brett Dobson? So let's run through my player of the week awards. So we're going to go offensive player of the week. Oh God, Clark Peterson, I think we'll go with offensive player of the week. As much as he they didn't get the win with him, but he's just amazing with 4 goals, 7 assists for 11 points. Huge. How can you not give it to him? My defensive player of the week is going to go to, and there's some arguments to be made there, obviously. There's some other players that had really massive games. Dane Smith with that clutching goal is also, I would have to somewhat consider, but I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to give it to CP24, buddy. Absolutely massive. Then you got, for my defensive player of the week, I'm going to go with Mr. Mitch Desnew. Mitch Desnew got 20 loose balls, 2 caused turnovers, and 3 blocks. That, to me, that's crazy. That's a good, fantastic game. The way Buffalo won that game as well with those loose balls, those are a massive stat. You know how much I love that. And Mitch Desnew is one of the best defenders in the world. So I got to go with him on this one. My rookie of the week, is it even should we just give it to him? Give him the rookie of the year already? I'm going to give rookie of the week to Mr. CJ Kurse. Huge game, huge second to really get a hat trick in 1 quarter there. All his goals got in 1 quarter. Huge, 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 huge. CJ Kurse had 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points, leading the Toronto Rock. 6 shots on net, so scoring at a 50% shooting percentage, grabbing 3 loose balls as well, just to throw it in there. Just make it a little bit easier. And Matthews? Yes, it was. So anyway, there you have it. Dawick with a massive goal too that night. as well. Goaltender of the week. I'm going to have to go with Christian. Goaltender of the week is going to be Christian Del Bianco. Mr. Delbs for an 84 save percentage with an 8 goal against average, 50 shots, 42 saves, absolutely huge. Winning this close game with Ottawa, this could have went either way. Without Delbs, they wouldn't have won this game. And that's why Delbs is going to be up there for in that MVP category as well. So we're going to be going over that. And I forgot to mention him in the MVP. Actually, he's got to be thrown in there as well. Now I'm sitting here like that. So there you have it. There's my awards for the week, guys. Okay. So quickly, let's run through the games for next week. We've got 6 games again on next week. We got 6 games on again next week. So starting off strong, we have 1 game Friday night. It's going to be Halifax versus Philly. Halifax is going to get this win. Philly needs a tank anyway. Philly just go lose, get Spalina, and let's go. Then you've got Georgia and Ottawa. I'm going to take on this one. This is a tough one. Ottawa's at home. What do they got? I just have a feeling Ottawa's going to win. I just have this weird gut feeling. They have 2 in a row. Do they win? Do they lose another one? That's where. Let's see Georgia for a minute. Well, guys, this is one of those games that I think a lot of people are going to be taking Georgia, and I'm going to take Ottawa on this one. Again, I need to get onto that top of the who you got leaderboard. So it's one of those games that's going to help me do it. And Georgia could definitely win this game, but being away, Ottawa at home, they need the win to clinch the playoffs. So does Georgia. This is going to be a tight game, but I'm going to take Ottawa on this one at home. You got Rochester versus Oshawa. Go home. Oshawa, if somehow they come out and win, which wouldn't shock me the way they are. They're going to ruin Rochester's day. But this is honestly a must win for Rochester. Then you've got Buffalo versus Saskatchewan. I'm going to take Saskatchewan in this one. I think Saskatchewan gets back in the winning column. Buffalo, as good as they've been, I think Saskatchewan has a chip on their shoulder now, and they're going to have to go in and win. Saskatchewan at home this year, just to give you guys some perspective, Saskatchewan at home is 6-0 at home. Okay, they don't lose at home. So, and I think this is kind of what they need for their mojo back. Both take it. These are both important games. I would say Toronto is more. I'm more confident in Toronto than I'm in Halifax, but I think Toronto takes a win this one. So there you have it. There's going to be my perfect 6 for 6 wins week next week. I go 6 for 6 next week, and there you have it. So you're not going to want to miss this next week. There you have it, guys. There's my episode 41. Crazy every time I say that. Go follow my socials, do all this stuff, join the Discord. I'll try to get it up here on the screen. Yeah. So if there's anything I'm missing, we're gonna be talking. I'm gonna have to somehow squeeze OJLL in here eventually too. This is gonna have to be. I don't know if I'm gonna maybe just not do interviews, just so I can kind of condense this a little bit. I might just take a break from doing interviews over the next. Like when the OJLL season is going to start soon, because I think it starts like in April, the end of April, I'm pretty sure. So maybe at the beginning of April, I'll just stop doing interviews for a bit, just to try to get this. I am going to be bringing Graeme on for like I've mentioned before, for like a segment every week now, Perrow's picks and like an NLL stat that like. Something like an NL stat that's going to be broken this week or possibly broken. I think that's kind of a cool thing. And with all that being said, maybe something that's also happened the week before that you want to give a shout out to or something, or give him a shout out to. So that's kind of my ideas. So there you go, have it, guys. There's my episode. Love you guys. I've been talking long enough. Let's see what we're up to right now, just to see. Yeah, I'm at like almost 2 hours. So with that being said, my name is Keegan McDonald. I'm Anything Across. This game never sits still, and we will see you guys next time.